and welcome to Apt in Act, the YouTube channel where I answer your questions about acceptance and commitment therapy and contextual behavioural science. My name is Jim Lucas and I am a behavioural psychotherapist and peer-reviewed ACT trainer. In this episode, we're going to answer the question, what is creative hopelessness? When I was a younger man in my early 20s, I used to believe that it was wrong to express anger. I thought that it was a sign that you were losing control and that losing control was a weakness. If I felt angry about stuff, I'd pretend I was okay about it. I avoided asking for help or support, and I tried very hard to be easygoing. If I felt sad, scared or ashamed, then I wouldn't talk about that either. What impact do you think that had on me? And what would it have been like for my friends and family? Each of us learns patterns over how we deal with our emotions. Your experiences teach you how to cope. For example, if at school you were severely bullied, then you adapt possibly by keeping people at arm's length. On the one hand, it would make you feel safer, and on the other hand, you'd subject yourself to loneliness. Our minds develop rules designed to keep us safe and protect us from harm. Sometimes rules work well and have little negative consequence. For example, you should always brush your teeth before you go to bed, and you must look both ways before crossing the road. However, rule following doesn't always work because they can prevent you from responding to the nuances of the context. Take learning to be a therapist. Tutors and supervisors could teach you how to be a therapist by giving you a set of rules to follow. These rules might look something like this. When a person seems depressed, you must get them to do behaviour activation. Rumination makes depression worse, so start therapy by teaching them cognitive diffusion. Avoidance keeps problems going, so you must help your client always to accept their feelings. Do you recognise some of these rules? Now, I don't think these rules are inherently good or bad. An acceptance and commitment therapy is rooted in a philosophy called functional contextualism, which means that if you want to find out if a rule is useful, then you need to examine the context. And because we're verbal beings, we live a lot in our heads. We get caught up with our thoughts, and these can drive unhelpful behaviours. Creative hopelessness is the process of examining what you do, why you do it, and what it leads to inside a specific context. So what do we mean by context? Think of it as an environment in which your experiences take place. It can be where you are and who you are with, for example, with close friends or with people you don't know. Your context or environment also includes your private experiences, your thoughts, your feelings, your physical sensations, and your learning history, which influences what you think and feel, which is why it's useful to identify the rules and self-stories that shape the way you operate. Creative hopelessness is a contextual way of exploring functional analysis, and in behavioural analysis you often use an ABC chart to capture the behaviours that cause problems. When working with a client, you find out the thoughts, feelings and sensations that come before the action. ACT calls these private events the antecedents, and they show one part of the context in which behaviours take place. The C stands for consequences, what it is that happens after you perform a behaviour. Outcomes form part of the context too, because they can influence whether the behaviour gets repeated in the future. So when do you complete a functional analysis? It's often something you start with at the beginning of therapy, and it doesn't stop there. Despite early discoveries that specific patterns of behaviour don't work, people often continue to get stuck in the same loops. Just think about some of the unhealthy or unhelpful patterns of behaviour you do. How long have you been trying to change them? Creative hopelessness is a useful tool that helps you to notice when you're going round and round the loop. Instead of getting into the cycle with your client, you can invite them to choose. They can stay in the cycle or step off. So how do you do creative hopelessness? There are different ways of intervening with a client's dialogue in the therapy room, and experiential methods often are the most powerful. To begin with, try these 5 questions. Number 1, who and what is essential in your life? If you look back on your experience in 20 years, what would you have liked to have done with your life? Number 2, what thoughts and feelings make it difficult to build these habits? Number 3, what do you do to control, push away, or get rid of this distress or discomfort? Number 4, what costs have you experienced as a result of these coping strategies? And number 5, how well do they work? This last question shines a light on the intention of your actions so that you can track their impact. It's a way of introducing experiential learning that's context sensitive. Creative hopelessness is essential to the work in acceptance and commitment therapy because it reminds you and your client that understanding what you do is less important than why you do it. Together, you learn to assess the workability of your client's actions. Try this exercise first with your challenges. Pick a habit you'd like to reduce or establish. Use that experience as a platform for using it with a client. I'm grateful to learn that hiding my anger and other feelings didn't work. I learned that avoidance was hopeless. And it wasn't my anger or shame that was the problem. It was my avoidance that was the problem. In other words, it's not the problem that's the problem. It's the solutions that are the problem. That's it for this lesson on creative hopelessness. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments below. Subscribe to this channel by clicking the button below. And I'll see you next time for more lessons on how to get apt in ACT.